Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato, coming to you from the Agnes Varis NJTV studio in Newark, New Jersey. We are pleased to welcome for the first time with us Scott Rudder, President of the Board of Directors for the New Jersey CannaBusiness Association, which is?
New Jersey CannaBusiness Association. We are the trade organization representing the cannabis industry in New Jersey.
So we're talking marijuana. And as we do this program in the spring of 2018, there's a spirited dialogue going on in the State House here. And by the way, how many states in the nation have legalized marijuana?
We have 8, including D.C.
Difference between?
So we have 8 that have legalized adult use, and there's about 30 that's also legalized for medical purposes.
Including New Jersey?
Including New Jersey.
So, right out of the box, the difference between legalization and decriminalization of marijuana is?
Well, when it's decriminalized, it's still crime. So it's still illegal, right? So when you decriminalized it, you basically said, you're not going to go to jail, but here's a ticket. You haven't actually legalized cannabis. So what you've said is you can actually, the argument is, hey, we're going to just decriminalize, and therefore we're going to solve some social justice concerns associated with cannabis, right? So
like you said social justice issues. How is this a social justice issue?
So, well, the very premise of cannabis prohibition actually started in the 1930s, and the roots of all this deal with greed and racism. So if you have that as your fundamental understanding of what cannabis is and what cannabis prohibition means, when we're fast forwarding to today, 2018, we do know that in New Jersey, for example, black and brown people are 3 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis than a white person.
That's based on racism in your mind?
That's based on historical racism for sure. I think that we see a lot of that happening, absolutely. So when we talk about decriminalization, the thought is, well, it's not going to be a crime anymore. You'll just get a parking ticket equivalent. You'll still be able to go to college to still go to get a job and all that kind of thing. Won't ruin your future. The reality is what we're saying is it's no longer a crime, but you still got to go talk to the drug dealer. And who knows where that drug dealer...
You're making it sound like it's promoting street crime in a way that legalization would not?
Absolutely exacerbates it. You know, for example, with decriminalization, I still have to deal with a drug dealer to get that cannabis, right? So if I know that cannabis is healthy for me as a medicine or as something that's a better alternative than alcohol or opioids, so I know these things to be true. I know they're medical facts. If I want to, in a decriminalized world, go get that cannabis, which is healthier for me, I still got to deal with a criminal to do that.
Yeah, but Scott, here's my other question on this. You have people like Senator Joe Vitale, the chair of the Senate Health Committee, respected member of the legislature, and others. By the way, only a recent telephone poll, if my math is right, only 5 of 40 members of the New Jersey State Senate said they would be in favor of legalization of marijuana. But one of those who would not is Senator Vitale. What do you say to him, who really is an expert in the legislature on health issues, when you're saying the totally opposite thing that he says?
No, Senator Vitale, absolutely correct. He's a phenomenal legislator, a great...
But he's not in favor of legalization.
Well, he's definitely in favor of medical cannabis. And so it's really an extension of medical cannabis.
But that exists.
It exists in a very microscopic way in New Jersey. So in New Jersey, we have 5 operational dispensaries, soon to be 6, and then we're going to hear...
For medical purposes.
For medical purposes, correct. Right. And we're going to also hear very shortly about Governor Murphy's executive order, and he's going to announce this shortly. And,
what's it going to say?
Well, what we expected to say is that, look, you know, the access to medical marijuana, medical cannabis has been something that's been held back, and it's been almost intentionally by design by the Christie administration, by holding back the expansion of new conditions, by not allowing the current operators to expand or putting more applications and more licenses on the street. So Governor Murphy recognizes this. We recognize this as an industry. Patient advocates recognize this. So we do expect access to be increased under Governor Murphy's, under the medical program.
Let's do this. Governor Murphy sat right here in the NJTV studio in Newark, New Jersey. By the way, make sure you check out NJTV News every night on several public television stations, particularly NJTV and WNET. But here's my question. As Governor Murphy, who was then a candidate, sat here and said, one of the reasons he supports legalization of marijuana is because it would bring in significant revenue to the state.
Sure.
How much, and how do we know that?
Well, we already know that New Jersey has $1 billion black market. So we already know that
illegal sale of marijuana.
Illegal sale of marijuana in New Jersey is about $1 billion a year. It already exists. This is already going on. So what we do with adult legalization and what Governor Murphy's been talking about is let's take it out of the hands of drug dealers and drug cartels and put it in the hands of small business owners and also regulate it in a fashion there where we see, like in Colorado, for example, post-regulation, Colorado in 2013 had the highest teenage use of cannabis in the country. They were #1 in the nation. Today they're #7. It's a downward trend. regulations in a properly regulated market, you will see several things that are positive, but particularly taking money away from drug dealers and putting it in the hands of small
Scott,
business owners.
why would only 5 of 40 state senators say they support this argument, given the fact that you seem to be making cogent arguments in the minds of some right now?
Sure. The reality is, as we all grew up thinking that cannabis was as bad as cocaine and heroin, since the 1930s,
it's a gateway drug, some say.
We've been told that many times, but we know factually that it's not a gateway drug.
You think that's a misconception?
It is not a misconception. It was an outright lie that was put together by the Nixon administration when they put together the Controlled Substance Act. They made cannabis a Schedule I drug. The Nixon administration, without any medical background associated with it, made cannabis a Schedule I drug as bad as heroin. Cocaine, methamphetamine, is a Schedule II. So by definition, crack cocaine is healthier for you than cannabis. Crack cocaine is less addictive for you than cannabis. Knowing that as the premise for all these things, we recognize the fact that there was no science behind there. 1971 Nixon administration is not 2018. We have had several decades of research put into this, medical research, scientists in the United States, but mostly in Israel and other countries where they've actually done significant, incredible research to this, both as a medicine from an efficacy perspective, but also recognizing that you don't get addicted to this. It is not the gateway drug.
In a time I left, real quick, Scott, the politics there, I use that term. I mean, this is not a program that looks at horse race politics or campaign politics, but the politics of public policy. How much of this is about the politics of public policy and the perception on the part of some members of the legislature who are afraid of being labeled as soft on drugs?
Right, and there's a stigma that's been around, again, for many, many decades, what the misconception of what cannabis is. And so we have to break through that stigma, and we do that with using facts. We use medical facts, we use data and statistics from other states. There's been arguments about teenage use increasing and all these crime things and all these other sort of falsehoods. The reality is, when we talk about teenage use, more cannabis is being sold in the United States than ever before in our history. And we're actually
a few seconds left. Go ahead.
We're at a 20-year low in teenage use. In a well-regulated market with proper education and those resources going back into communities, we're actually seeing a very positive impact on our state. We'll see a positive impact on our state.
Scott Rudder, I want to thank you for joining us on State of Affairs. And I also promise folks who wonder, hey, where's the balance here, that we will have either Senator Vitale or someone else. Senator Scutari has been leading this effort with you and your colleagues for a long time. Someone who does not have the same view that Scott has and Senator Scutari, and you can decide for yourself. But the legislature is going to deal with this, and Governor Murphy is in favor of it. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
This is State of Affairs. We'll be right back right after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by the Northward Center, NJ Best, St. Joseph's Health, Seton Hall University, NJM Insurance Group, New Jersey Sharing Network, and by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands. And by Jaffe Communications, where business, media, and government converge in New Jersey.